Friday, new movies are hitting theaters, and our film critic Richard Roeper is here telling us whether to spend or save at the box office. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you, Ryan. Everybody.
During that last segment, I saw you were far, far away.
You know, I was just glad there were no technical difficulties during that.
That's right. Let's talk about some movies. Director M. Night Shyamalan is back with another thriller. This time, a security guard uses his supernatural abilities to track a disturbed man who has 24 personalities. Here's a look at Glass.
Miss Patricia said that your bones can break if I, like, tap them. Is that true?
Yes.
So what's your superpower? Your mind? What's mine?
You're 9 forever, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible. You can see the world the way it really is. Always. A kid who can never grow old.
Now, we saw the movie Split. Is this the sequel?
Yeah, this is interesting. For people who don't know the story behind this, Ryan, Unbreakable was a great film in the year 2000 with Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis. And then Split, James McAvoy was great in that. You see him there. That was in the same universe. And now those two movies are tied together in the third entry called Glass. Unfortunately, I have to say save on this. This is such a disappointment because I love the first film. I love what they did in Split. M. Night Shyamalan does a great job. You know, he's famous for his twist endings, but everything here feels kind of arbitrary, the way they put the three characters together. And about 15 minutes into it, my heart just began to sink because I'm like, this movie is going in a direction where it cannot get out. It's a dead end that it creates on its own, and it doesn't. And then the ending just feels tacked on, and I didn't buy it. It was really disappointing.
Is M. Night Shyamalan ever going to have another big hit like Sixth Sense type?
I mean, you know, yeah, for a time there, he was the next Spielberg with
Right.
Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. You know, he did direct Split, and it was a big hit, and it gave all of us who were really fans of his original work such hope going into this, but there wasn't enough story here. And if he didn't have enough story, just leave the other two classics alone. So this is the first huge disappointment of 2019.
All right, so we got to save on that one. Next up, all the men in a remote California town vanish one by one. Woman's dream, right? Theories about their whereabouts swirl as their worried wives and children hope for their return. James Franco and Rashida Jones star in Don't Come Back from the Moon. Here's a clip.
She found her dad's car in a ditch. There was no blood in the car. It was as if he vaporized out of the driver's seat and just floated away.
Koya?
Belle's father owned the bar on Avenue A. He'd taken all the cash and left a note. Sonia Stecco said her dad wrote her a letter. It was as if he planned to miss the next 30 years of her life. People used to vacation here. They used to come here for the lake. My dad said when he was little he'd go fishing. Now we just have dust storms.
This almost seems like an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
So that's the interesting thing about this, Ryan, and I am saying spend on this one because it almost looks like a Twilight Zone. Where have all the fathers gone? The explanation is actually more mundane, if you will, than that. But this is a beautiful film. You can tell by the clips we're showing there, just beautifully photographed, wonderful actors, some young actors, and we mentioned James Franco and Rashida Jones. So this is one of those films where you probably aren't going to hear a lot about it, but if it shows up on your Netflix queue, if it shows up on your on-demand, any way you can see it, take a chance on this one. It's a really, really fine film.
All right. This next one is set and filmed in Chicago. After being arrested for the murder of a white classmate, a young black man's father fights for his son's vindication. Here's a clip from Canal Street.
We've got one senior citizen who claims he saw some red lights far away in the dark. You know what the county's got? My son covered in that boy's blood.
Okay, but even you have to admit that this is good. Okay, plus there's still no gun.
And no bullet to trace it to. When it comes down to it, that could be the only thing that exonerates Coley. In this town, they've already strung the noose. No one's gonna do the heavy lifting for us.
Frank's right.
Now, maybe this doesn't seal the deal, but at least it's a shadow of proof that there might be somebody else.
So find the bullet.
Independent film shot here in Chicago. I hadn't heard much about this.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think it's only going to be playing in one theater. Again, though, look for it on demand. And it's the story of a young teenager who grew up around 83rd and Ingleside. Now he moves with his father. Father gets a great job. They move up to Winnetka. Now he's implicated in the murder of a white student. The cast in this movie, Ryan, I got to say, is unbelievable. So Michael T. Williamson there. He goes all the way back. He was Forrest Gump's buddy back in the day. Harry Lennox, who's a local treasure of an actor. Mekhi Phifer. Again and again, Nora Dunn is in this movie, it's a small film, but it has a world-class cast and beautiful writing and directing. And we've seen this story before. It's a lot of familiar stuff to Chicagoans, but never done quite in this way. Really intelligent screenplay as well.
All right, so we're giving that one a spend. And then finally, this is kind of strange. Both Netflix and Hulu released competing documentaries about the Fyre Festival scam. Media personalities, including Kendall Jenner and Bella Hadid, promoted the music fest, but the event experienced disastrous problems, including a lack of security, food, sleeping accommodations. Tell us a little bit more about this one, Rich.
People might remember the Fyre Festival debacle of a couple of years ago because all these millennials paid thousands of dollars to get to the music festival lifetime there in the Bahamas. The only thing they really didn't have was electricity, running water, a campground, lodging, and any acts that actually showed up. It was one of the great scams of all time. But the two documentaries are really fascinating. They promised people that they would get these beautiful seaside villas. The tents you're seeing there, those are FEMA tents for post-hurricane. The food you're seeing there, they call that the saddest cheese sandwich ever shown. People paid thousands of dollars, got ripped up. The guy behind this festival, by the way, is serving 6 years in jail for all the fraud he committed. But the stories about the debacle are both fascinating. Both documentaries worth checking out, Hulu and Netflix.
All right, big thanks to Richard Roeper, everybody.